you doing?
How you doing? Hi, I'm Deputy Thomas with the Pumpkin Sheriff Department. I've been with the Sheriff Department 2 years. I've done a year in the jail. I also was an assistant chief in the fire department. Kind of led on, made me want to experience more things with the law enforcement. So I moved on to my career to add police, the sheriff's department. And it's basically a dangerous way the world's set up now, but I still like it, and you know, it involves me interacting with more people just as if I was in the fire department.
All right, on a day-to-day basis, what crimes do you normally encounter the most, and why do you believe these crimes happen in here?
Most likely to be armed robberies, like robberies, period. You know, people know that it's around holidays. Most people know people go out and work and bring in four-wheelers. You know, some people don't have money in the world today. So, you know, they'll like to take other people's things to sell it to pawn shops. Because the pawn shops really don't encounter on who it comes from.
Right.
They just looking at their profit from it.
Right.
So, you know, most likely armed robberies.
All right, so have you ever encountered any violent situations in your line of work? And like, if so, like, can you explain on like what happened? Or if not, can you explain what you did to prevent those violent situations from happening?
Well, the most violent thing that had happened so far to me was shots fired. And it kind of brings on, you don't know when you hear shots fired whether somebody is shot or whether the person themselves are just shooting.
Correct.
But in our mind frame, the way we was trained, you take everything as if there's someone dead.
Correct.
So it's code 3 every time. When we get closer to the scene, we cut it down to a code 1. There's no lights. You know, you just come in, cruise in, canvass the areas. Certain people, you know, make your surroundings. You know, you want to build a barrier around that area. And when you interact with it, one go in, one come around the back, you meet in the middle. And how it was played out, one did the talking, the rest did the scanning. So it was more of units being parked, people out walking. You know, you give them no, by us being in all black, you really can't see us. So, you know, nighttime, you know, we kind of blended in, and they really not expecting it. It's just a quick reaction. That call itself led up to a foot chase. The guy ended up dropping the firearm. That's why they train you. If he was to have his firearm to aim and draw, it's more likely you'll be shooting center mass, and that's in his chest. You know, most of the time, some people will shoot to injure, but we're trained to shoot to kill. So with that being said, I made contact with the guy. It led to a foot chase. He got caught at his mama's house. The gun was on the house in front of him. He was brought to jail for disarming a firearm, well, illegal use of a firearm. That means shooting it in the air. You kind of made threats to the neighbors down the street. So we put charges on that. And right now he's still in jail doing time.
All right, but what other type of weapons have you seen being used to cause harm or death to any individual around?
Well, you know, the metal fences, they kind of have their own. You know, you can make brass knuckles out of the metal fences, you know, bottles, can tops. You can, like on the can of beans, you cut the top off, fold it, take the can part, and you can use it as a blade. Some people use broomsticks. You can break it off, sharpen one side of it, make it sharp point. Any real sharp objects, screwdrivers, box cutters, you know, the usual stuff you'll linger around. Maybe, say for instance, if you're working on something like a construction site, you got some people that know a lot about that, so they can use the nail gun itself. Like a firearm type, you know, it's shooting air. But that's basically the most weapons that'll be used. Butcher knives, kitchen knives, anything like that they quick to get their hands on.
Right, so anything around you can basically
Be a weapon.
All right, so it's not just like firearms, as like people try to make it seem like the firearms do all the work.
they can get their hands on anything can be a weapon.
Okay. Why do you believe people decide to use guns of all things to decide to harm people over any other type of weapon?
The way the world is today, most people are very careless with their weapons.
Right.
So guns, it's kind of easy to get to. It ain't just that they just picking these things. You got drones that's being added and made for these guns. And they figure if you have a pistol, they got AK, it's a different caliber. I might be shooting 6, 7 times, you might be over there shooting 25, 30. Well, by people making drums now for the guns, you get 100 round drums, you get the 200 round drums. You know, it's there, like Glocks. You can add the extended mags to your Glocks. So that's giving you 32. Police is not going to carry that. It's going to be most likely 15 shots unless they have an AR in the truck with them.
So most people decide to use pistols because of accessibility and the fact that they can add different accessories to them to make them more. Yeah, they can have extended mags on them, so that way they can have more rounds to use, and just in case they do decide to have a firefight with you.
Right, and you know, by you having a pistol with an extended mag, it's a very good chance of you being able to maneuver. You can run. The gun not going to get hung up because it's a handgun. You just got an extra package on the bottom. And some guns don't drop shell cases. That's your revolvers, your 38s. Like, they really don't drop shell cases. So smart people use the 38s. That way, if they touch the bullets, the shell's not dropping. So, you know, it'll be most likely a handgun. For the ones that's planning on just being there and prepared for the firefight, they're going to use their assault rifles.
On average, do you believe that guns or drugs do more damage to individuals?
Drugs. You know, people on the drugs do the damage with the gun.
Right.
So, you know, you crack cocaine, your meth, your heroin, it takes a big toll. The ones that get addicted to the pills the doctor give them, it takes a toll on them because once you're addicted to it, it's kind of hard for you to stop. But to me, it's a mind thing. It's if you want to get off it or not. It's how many times this doctor going to constantly prescribe you the same pills. Or, you know, how many refills he give you. You know, he really don't know if you're hurting or not, but he's giving it to him because he's your doctor.
Right.
And he's making money by you constantly coming. So you spending money, he's making money. So it takes money to make money. So, drugs.
I feel that there could be a change in the amount of deaths caused by firearms.
Personally, my opinion, not really, because you still got a lot of careless people in the world. People buy so many guns to where they only taking this one with them and leaving the rest. You know, if they was more careful about their guns by putting them in safes and being that they the only one have the code, or maybe they have a party, get drunk and slip and tell the code. You know, who they let watch put in the code, you know. Maybe the kids know the code. You know, some people are just careless, so I really don't think you'll ever be able to keep the gun violence down, you know. I just don't see it happening.
All right. In your line of work, what do you feel is the most accidental death that you come in contact with?
My opinion, I would say the most accidental deaths would be drunk drivers. You know, they get drunk, intoxicated, can't maintain control of the vehicle, cross over into an intersection, runs into an oncoming traffic head-on collision.
And that's normal. Like that's pretty much normal.
That's normal. You know, you'll get that between your club hours, your Friday and Saturday nights. You know, and most people say Sundays, playboys. You know, you'll get that. People crossing the highway, cars drunk, oncoming traffic, get hit by a car. You know, the most accidental deaths would be your car crashes dealing with drunk drivers.
Would you rather to keep firearms or ban them based on today's events?
Well, we talk about banning as in wise of banning them from law enforcement or banning it from individuals
Now,
outside of law
it'll be
enforcement?
more of the civilian use, but as far as banning.
Well, personally, no, I wouldn't ban them. Because if we ban them, then they'll really start stealing. You got specific places I really don't want to go to specific of where they would be because most people already know, but hey, I don't want to give out too much information of where they're stealing them from, but you really can't keep up with it once it goes so far as into how they're getting the guns. So if we can stop the way they're getting the guns, then it'll potentially bring down the most violent with the youth. Because it's most of the youngsters you catch really with the firearms, and most likely they'll be legal firearms.
Do you feel that controlling who has guns will control the gun deaths that's going on in the country?
Most likely, yes. If we'll have the law enforcement equipped with guns and the individuals that's not a part of the law enforcement don't have guns, it can play its own role. Who say they still wouldn't steal them?
Right.
So, I don't think it'll be to a point to where we'll be able to stop people from getting guns. They can make it illegal, but how many of them have illegal guns now?
Right.
So it's really being no way of being able to control who has the guns because we still don't know how they're getting them. Or if we shut off the way we know they're getting them for sure, who say they still wouldn't do a burglary to get them. So, we really can't stop that. It'll be a point of just catching them and recovering the stolen guns or the illegal weapons that they have. So it'll be locking the individuals up that have the illegal guns or stolen guns.
Well, for my last and final question, do you feel that guns kill people or do people actually kill?
Well, my opinion, it'll be people with guns kill people. Or it's basically no other way it can happen. It takes someone to pull that trigger. It takes someone without a conscience to pull that trigger. It takes someone that is bloodthirsty to pull that trigger, who really don't care about other humans' life. Sometimes it be the drugs, they be out of their mind, and it happens, but it's the person with the gun.
So it's merely just a tool in aid of the deaths. It is not the actual gun itself that actually does the murders or the crimes.
It takes a person to pull that trigger to commit that crime with that weapon. Maybe in the military they got buttons on the computer that you can press, but it has a person that's pressing that button behind that computer.
Right.
So it's whatever way they want to look at it, people with guns kill people.
Thank you very much for your time.
It's nice meeting with you.